Okay, we are now ready to pour the molten metal into our mold. However, you must don the proper safety gear. You must have your sleeves covered. If you have a long sleeve sweatshirt or something like that, you don't have to use the arm protectors. Okay, these are called leggings. These will go over your shoes. And then I've got a pair of gloves and a face shield. You want no molten metal to be able to splash on your skin, so you want your entire body covered. Okay, we're at 1351 Fahrenheit, perfect temperature. Okay, so the furnace, I have swung the lid open, and you can see the molten metal. There's 200 pounds of molten aluminum in here. Okay, before we pour, we have to remove our little cover. You want to leave this on right until you're ready to pour, so if somebody's working over here in the sand area and you don't want sand getting blown down the sprue hole. Now we'll open the furnace lid. I'm putting my face shield down. This open. Notice how the metal is kind of a crusty color on top. Okay, that's because there is some oxidation on aluminum. It's called dross. Okay, I'm going to let the ladle preheat for a few seconds to drive off any moisture. You want to be absolutely sure that you don't put a moist tool into the furnace. It would cause a steam explosion. Now I'm going to turn it sideways and immerse it in the aluminum so that I can preheat the ladle. I want it the same temperature as the aluminum. We have about 200 degrees, 250 degrees of superheat. Remember, that's the incremental amount of extra temperature you give the metal above its melting point so that you don't have premature solidification. You want it to completely fill the mold. So if you put a cold ladle in there and immediately dip out your metal, the cold ladle will absorb a lot of the heat out of the metal and you'll lose a bunch of your superheat and you may not get a complete part because you cooled the metal off. It only takes about 20 seconds or so. Okay, now I'm going to pull the ladle out and I'm going to push the dross out of the way. I don't want to dip out the dross. I would just like to leave the dross in there. Okay. Now I'm going to take my ladle, keeping it level so I don't spill it, and I'm going to come over, and you want to pour quickly. You don't want to be able to see the sprue hole while you're pouring, or you're pouring too slow. As soon as you see it starting to puddle on the top, you have enough metal in there, and then I'll pour the extra back in the furnace. I'm going to shake off some of the extra. You can see the furnace, the ladle's a dull red. It's pretty hot. Then I can swing the lid closed. Now you'll notice the mold is smoking a little because of the oil in the sand, so I'll turn on the exhaust fan. Now one thing I didn't mention, I used the larger of the two ladles on the furnace. It depends on the size of the volume of the cavity of the mold, how much metal you need. So I used the big one. I probably could have got away with the smaller one, but also, depending on the volume of the metal you have just poured, that will dictate the amount of time you need to let the mold sit before you pull it apart. Typical rule of thumb is about 20 minutes for most aluminum castings. If the casting is very thin, you can get away with a lot less than that, but you don't want to break it out too early or it'll be soft and you'll damage your parts. So in about 20 minutes we'll break this out and you can see the completed casting. And that's it.